Hi, this is a Minute of Overpass. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now this week I want to talk about why you should continually update your app. Okay, so it's been a big week in terms of Apple, and Apple, the iOS 10 came out. We had a lot of trouble this week with uploading new builds because we use Corona SDK framework, and there were some issues with Corona SDK and some changes that iTunes have done, but they fixed it. And it's a nice thing about using a good framework is they'll fix it right away. And so we had those issues, and also we had something where Apple has gone through and just removed a bunch of my apps, just like this morning, literally just a few hours ago. So if you have a look at my screen here, you can see this is what I woke up to this morning. So I had the lots of emails from Apple from the iTunes store, and I had the first one saying Arabic bubble bath is ready for sale. So yay, it was an update we did. And then a bunch of them were the apps does not comply with app review guidelines, and they're going to go ahead and remove it. So you can see here your app, that's she went ba ba ba, your app Read Racer, a bunch of other ones here, and these apps are really old. Like, to be honest with you, I forgot they were there. And it was we released these. It must have been 2013, early 2013. Right, and you can see here, this is in the early days when my whole plan was to release one for each language. So rather than use the localization options within iTunes and Google Play and within the apps, I just wanted to release one for each version. So I had all these code bases all over the place and all these App Store entries, and they were getting approved, but it was just a nightmare. I mean, some people have asked about that. Should I do one for the Chinese market and one for this market, one for that market? So I say no, just use the localization features within the app. And what that does is that it allows you to have one version of the app, and if somebody goes through and changes the language on the phone, like say to Chinese Mandarin, it will show up in Chinese Mandarin as long as you have those strings within the app to display, or you might have different images and stuff like that. But I've done videos on that. I've done a few on localization. But in the early days, I was releasing one for each language, which again, another downside is that it really doesn't help with marketing and ASO, because you have like all these different entities out there. So like if somebody leaves a review on the Arabic version of the game, that's not going to help the English version or the Chinese version or one of the other versions. So yeah, so that was it. So anyway, some of these are really old, and I had no plans to go ahead and update them, but they did go ahead and remove them. And sure enough, when I went into the iTunes Connect console here, you can see that all these red number ones, all these ones that were at the bottom of the list were moved up to the top because they've been updated now. And so you can see here, if I just go into one of these, Secret Agent Arabic, and you can see what it says is on October 1st, 2016, they said that we're going to go through and start removing outdated and apps that were outdated and no longer function as intended. And it basically, when it gives you the reason, it says, we notice your app has not been updated in a significant amount of time, which it hasn't. I mean, I haven't really done anything with it. However, the reason I want to bring this up is it always is a good practice to update your apps from time to time, right? Even if you don't have any changes put in, it shows Apple and Google that you're actively maintaining the app. With Apple and through iTunes, if you want to change keywords and try out new keywords or new screenshots, you have to release a new app anyway, or a new build. And because let me just show you here my Google Play console. You get this kind of thing with Google Play as well. You can see here bubble bath typing free. It's got the yellow triangle. Every so often we end up with yellow triangles all over the place because libraries have changed. Android updates all the time. iOS updates all the time, and they try to phase out the old stuff that uses the old libraries and old code. And it helps to go through and recompile every so often. Now, I know some of you out there, you might not be a developer yourself, but you might have hired developers and things like that. So, releasing a new build every few months or at least once a year might not be easy for you, or you might not have any changes to make. And what I like to say is it's a good idea to learn how to get that code and compile it yourself. I mean, you don't have to learn how to code it, but to learn how to just load it into Xcode, load it into whichever coding platform you use, load it into Android Studio, compile it, release it, and just put new versions out there every so often. Sometimes, especially like with Android Studio, with the Gradle builds, it will go through and update those libraries and stuff, in the background if you have it coded right, and then that just helps keep everything up to date. So the adage is, if it's not broken, don't fix it. With apps, it's different. I mean, it helps to release new versions from time to time. Not only does it show Apple and Google that you're maintaining the app, but it also shows users who are going to download your app that your app is actually fairly new. So it's been going through changes, and like say if you were going to look at, say if you were looking at 5 apps related to bread making, I guess, and you see that one of them was released, the last version was released 2 weeks ago, and the other one was released in like 2014. Which one would you go with? First you look at the reviews, but then you might look at the the last, if the reviews were constant, then you would go with the one that was updated most recently. The downside with Apple, of course, is that when you release a new version, the reviews they disappear, and you have to click on that, previous versions kind of thing to see, the reviews from before. I wish they hadn't made that change, but it does help in terms of keeping things up to date. Now, the other thing that Apple changed just recently within the last few weeks is they announced that they're no longer going to allow you to put the names as long as you want. So they limit you to 50 characters now. So Google Play has always been limited. The title has always been limited to 30 characters. Apple's now 50. And the reason they say is that people were trying to stuff too many keywords into the title. They were doing too many, things like that. They were trying to, rank better with the title. And I have to tell you what, I'm very much guilty of this. And I think in a few videos in the past, I've talked about, how you should put as many keywords in the title as you can. So like if I show you this Arabic bubble bath, the pro version here, it's like Arabic bubble bath, learn Arabic, pop bubbles, and have fun, full version. Now that is a long title, and I try to get as many things in that title as I could. And sometimes, I would go through and just try to see how much I can actually get in there before it gets rejected. It's a funny thing with Apple. Like at first, when you start getting rejected, you're like, it breaks your heart. 'Cause you're like, oh man, I have to submit that thing again. But then after a while, you start thinking, let's see what I can get away with. You just sort of just rolls off your back. So, this is something that in a past video, I think I've recommended doing it. I mean, Apple, actually app stores change all the time. You kind of have to keep up to date with it. If you read a book from like 2013 or 2012 on app marketing, it's out of date, right? So if I show you the new one, we released the new version of Arabic Bubble Bath this week, or the free version, and basically I was able to put Arabic Bubble Bath, learn Arabic, which is a bit redundant, I suppose. I wanted the keyword learn in there, and that was the only way I could think of to get it in there, but that went through just fine. So you still have a little bit of room to play with there. So that's it for this week. I want to just the 2 topics. Make sure you update your apps from time to time, and also the Apple keywords, the title's a lot shorter, just to go back on what I've said in previous videos. So that's it for this week. I hope it's been helpful. I'll talk to you next week. Okay, so I was going to record a new outro this week. For the longest time, for like a year, I've had the same outro, which is the one me saying, hey, I hope you like that video, and if you like it, say gnarly, and if you don't like, say bogus and all that kind of stuff. I planned on doing a new one this week, but I haven't done yet, so I'm just going to hit the main points here. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment. It's great to hear what you have to say. We're still on Snapchat, so every day I put out stuff on Snapchat, so things that we learned throughout the week. And some people have emailed and say how helpful it actually is, and are able to learn a bit there. So if you're on Snapchat, please give us a follow. I'll put the Snap code up here on the screen. If you're not on Snapchat, check it out. It's actually pretty interesting. So and finally, if you happen to be on the App Store, check out some of our apps, download them, leave a review. It really helps. If you want us to do the same for you, just drop me a note. I'll have a look. And that's it. I hope you have a good week. I'll talk to you next week.